Hey there. So I get asked fairly often, actually, how can I or how can we attract more great clients? So if you're looking for more clients, I don't know anybody who's not, and wondering what you could do to attract even more of the best clients, whether you serve individual people, you sell directly to consumers, you sell to other businesses or other business owners. Maybe you're stuck at a plateau, or you might be in a feast or famine cycle, but you know that you're ready to serve more, you have the capacity, and that you would love to get your message out in a bigger way, you would love to serve more, and of course you'd love to be compensated for serving those clients, you'd love to earn more revenue while you deliver your great service. Well, I could talk about this for days, as you could well imagine. The answer really is it's very specific, very big, but as my hero Sherlock Holmes says, data, data, I can't make bricks out of straw. And what Sherlock means by that is that he needs the facts, right? In order to create the solution, in order to deduce the answer to the problem that he's trying to solve the great mystery. So, same thing here. I need specifics about your individual business and your individual situation, but there are broad things that you can do. So, I'm going to give you some broad categories and try to be as specific within them as I can in order to help you get more of your great clients and set yourself up for the next month and beyond, so that you're getting the great people that you want to serve. So we're going to go ahead and dive in. My name's Winnie Anderson. Of course, I am a brand and content designer and consultant. I work with service-based businesses. I help them nail their message, get their message out in a bigger, more powerful way, and create the kind of content that attracts great buyers and helps those prospects decide to buy faster and easier. So we're going to dive in. We're going to give you some insight into the problem. And of course, I have two monitors. I've got my notes here in front of me. I got notes on my desk here, so I might be glancing around, and that's what I'm looking at. So if you have questions, you know how this works. Make a comment, ask me a question. I will answer as best I can. And if you're not here live with me, I always circle back and I respond to the questions that get posted. So let's go ahead and dive in. If you do come in live, you're watching this live, you want to make sure that you click the link that asks StreamYard, the fabulous StreamYard app, to have access to your name and face here on Facebook. That's all it is. It's nothing creepy. Just makes it easier for me to say hello to you and to engage with you while I'm here live. So let's go ahead and dive in. So, okay, how do I attract more great clients? The easy answer is to just, first of all, know what you're looking for. You want to start by actually defining what makes a great client. So while you're saying, how do I get more clients? It actually starts back here with getting in front of people who are great leads and helping them become great prospects. People follow a buying process. They travel their buying journey. I refer to it as a buying highway, and they work through some issues in their mind in order to become a client ultimately. So you want to share the kind of information that helps them understand you and helps them recognize that you can serve them. So we're really talking about people who raised their hand and expressed some level of interest in learning more from you and learning more about you and how you do the work you do. So starts by understanding the potential, what makes somebody great. And there are concrete, tangible things that people must have for you to be able to serve them at the highest level. And people who don't have those are not really a great potential client. The reason why this is so challenging, I can promise you, is because you're resisting actually putting a flag in the ground and saying, this is who I serve. As soon as you do that, I promise you, you'll have less stress, and you'll also, your message is going to become that much more powerful because the language that you use will become that much more refined and focused. It is going to resonate with those people faster and easier and help them recognize you as the great trusted authority that you are. So actually the first step is to be crystal clear about yourself. It's to be crystal clear about your message. It's to understand the problem that you solve. And I know that might sound stupid, but we service providers, we don't see a problem and then decide to fix it. We are a solution in search of a problem to fix. You know, somebody who's a veterinarian, they didn't start out wondering if the opening a veterinary practice in a certain town was a good business move. They start out with a love of animals, and then they evolve over time into being a veterinarian. So they go to veterinarian school, they get their DV, I think it is, their doctor of veterinary medicine. Now they have to find a place to open a practice. So they're a solution in search of a place to deliver their results to. So that's why I say service providers are solutions in search of a problem. So you've got to really understand the problem that you're solving, and you've got to understand it at a deep level. If you're the solution, what's the problem? And I could go off on a tangent. I'll resist that temptation. I've talked about this quite a bit. So if you'd like more information about identifying the problem, talking about the problem, just say that below and I'll get back in touch with you. I probably have a video that I can share on it. So you have to really understand also how your potential great clients use the language that to describe their own problem. I'll give you an example. So I had a designer once ask me what kind of questions my clients use with respect to building a brand. What kind of clients do my questions ask, I should say, about building a brand? And I told her, they don't. My clients don't ask me how to build a brand because that's not how they talk. That's an insider kind of question, or a question that puts a client at such a high level that you know, maybe I might get asked that once in 10 years, right? But here's what people do ask. They ask questions that speak to building a brand. They ask questions about how do I stand out more effectively? How do I attract more clients? That's a brand building question, right? How do I attract more clients? They say, how do I get a logo designed? That's an element of branding, but a lot of people don't understand that building a brand is a lot more than just a logo. That's really the end result, right? So people aren't asking me questions that are that specific. They're asking me these other questions that are around the core subject of building a brand. So you want to understand the language that your own folks are using and make sure you're using that language. Resist the temptation to be jargony and show how smart you are, because they're searching using these simple terms. So what we're really talking about is positioning and distinguishing yourself from every business who seems to do what you do, but you're not sharing this information for you or for them, your prospect or your competitors. You're sharing it. So mindset and approach are key here. You're doing all of this to help the buyer figure out their problem and then decide to solve it, and decide to solve it with you. You are creating information and content, and that is going to help you get your message out and get it out to the right people. So your information, and I've talked about this, about the ables that your content and you as a business need to be. So if you want more information on that, if you want that video, just say ables below and I'll know what you're talking about. So when people are in pain, and that's really what is happening when they have a problem, they're in pain. They're in some level of discomfort. They are stuck with some condition or circumstances that they don't want, and they can't seem to find their way to get what they do want. So they're in emotional pain, they're in cognitive pain, they're frustrated. So there are emotional components as well as the factual, fact-based, tangible problems that they're facing. You need to understand that, okay? So here are the questions that your folks, your potential buyers have to have the answer to. Do you solve my problem? And they want this information quickly. So when they go to your website, they want to see this stuff at a glance. And I talk mostly about your website because that's your central marketing hub. It's your shop, your office online in the interwebs, in the sphere of online life. So do you solve my specific problem? Right? I was looking for a doctor this morning. I don't care about other people's problems. Of course, I'm a nice person. I want you to be healthy. I want you to find a doctor that's right for you. But I am focused on my personal pain and finding the right solution for that pain. So this is very much, and I'll explain that more in a minute, this is very much like finding a doctor. Doctors completely get this, right? They might not be the greatest at actually marketing, but they understand differentiation and focus. So do you solve my specific problem? Do you serve people or businesses just like me or just like I'm in? I don't care if you solve enterprise level organizations. That's not me, right? And people who are running enterprise level organizations, they want to know that you serve enterprise level or whoever it is, right? So do you serve people or businesses just like me? How do you solve it? Now, they're not looking for every single solitary detail, and I know there are 1,000,001 steps. I'm in the process of creating documented steps for my own operation and what I do, so I can get some help in the coming year. And I'm like, my God, I have all these steps. Of course you do. Nobody wants to hear of them, right? They don't want to hear all 9 million steps. They want you to chunk it down into 3, maybe 4 steps, the big umbrellas that your little steps fall under. So how do you solve it? What you're really trying to show them is that you have an organized plan, that you have a branded methodology, and it works. So they're also looking for, can I trust you? That means, do you have proof that you can do the things you say you do? So do you have, and I have information about this as well, proof elements. So say that below if you'd like more information about proof elements. These are things like testimonials, case studies, all of that. But also proof elements are the content that you put out. They prove you're a smarty. They prove that you have an organized way of delivering the service, right? So you want to think about what builds your credibility, your authority, and shows the empathy that you have for the people that you serve. Okay, so next is this hard, right? To a degree, we all know that making changes, fixing a problem, it's rarely easy. It's never easy, right? So are you going to take the pain away? Are you going to make this as simple as possible, as painless as possible? And the more complex the problem, the more complex maybe their organization or their life is, the bigger headache that making a change is. So you've got to help them see that, yeah, this is not easy, but I've got this system and it's going to make it easier for you, and I'm going to guide you all the way. So you're really helping them feel better about taking that next step and about committing to making the change. That's really what you're asking them to do. So if you'd like to know more about what it is that you're actually asking your prospects to do, just say, more about the change, and I will get you more detail about that. So then once you've asked this, they've answered those questions for them, along with some other questions. They really want to know, how do I learn more? So when you have on your website, your navigation needs to take their buying journey and their decision-making process into consideration. So all along the way, you are guiding them to that next bit of content that educates them through the process. So most businesses, most entrepreneurs don't answer these questions specifically enough for a lot of reasons. And one is, as I said, you're trying to be all things to all people, right? So people want experts. They don't care about you. They care about themselves. And they want to work with somebody they trust is going to do the job really well. And they need to reduce the risk of mission failure. And your content has to help them do that. So back to my issue about needing a doctor. So I have had some symptoms, we'll say, some pain, and I had to figure out, all right, who do I need who's going to fix this problem for me? So I started by, like we all do, go to Dr. Google. I started searching by symptoms, started to realize that my problem wasn't this thing that I thought it was, it's this other thing. This is my problem. Now that I know that's the problem, who solves that? Is it this kind of doctor? Is it that kind of doctor? It's this kind of doctor over here. Awesome. Now let's see who's out there, right? So I take into consideration, one, convenience. How far am I going to have to go to find this expert? Luckily, I live like 30 minutes from Buffalo, which is the second largest city in the state of New York. But I also live 90 minutes from Rochester, which is, obviously a huge city. So I would be willing to go 90 minutes if I had to, but I found a great doctor that ticks my boxes, meets my criteria, right in Buffalo. All right, we're going to start there and let's see who we can find. I found somebody who she focuses on my problem. I wanted a woman. She ticks that box. She specializes in the subset of problems that I've narrowed this down, and she focuses even more on this particular aspect of that. Awesome. That's what I want. Sold. I made the appointment. So people are thinking the exact same way when they have a problem. They start usually with the symptoms. They might think about this as the diagnosis, but then that's what your content does, is educate them. All right. So I could go on about this for hours, as you well know. So you want to make sure you're creating content that builds credibility, that shows that you're an authority, and that communicates empathy with your target audience and answers those questions, right? So be sure to let me know if you want any of those resources that I have mentioned that I created. Let's do a quick recap. So the question that you want to ask, or that you have, is, how do I attract more great clients? That's a big question. There are specifics that relate just to you, but you want to make sure that you are, number one, nailing your message. Number two, that you're creating the kind of content that answers the questions your buyers have, and that the content you're creating meets the criteria for the ables that I explained. And the first is that it's got to be discoverable. So the questions you want to answer are, this is in addition to a few other ones probably, do you solve my specific problem? And maybe you help them figure out what that problem is. Do you serve people just like me, or just like my business? How do you solve it? And they're talking about the plan that you have, the methodology that you use, because that's tied to your belief system. They don't need every single step. Can I trust you? They're looking for proof elements that lower their risk and their concerns about mission failure. Is this hard? Communicate how you make it simple for them. Is this right for me right now? Why should I take action? And then how do I learn more? Where do they go next? What's your most wanted action to begin that sales process? So I hope this helps. Make sure that you got a really clear definition of a great prospect and a great client. Be sure that you and your team, if you have one, understand those definitions, and they're committed to only serving great people, and that you're creating content that answers the questions your prospects and great clients have, so they can connect with you, that your message resonates with them, and they're ready to take action when they reach out to you. So I hope that all helps. If, of course, you want help and you want to talk about how I can help you nail your message or create a pre-selling roadmap to create content that attracts and helps your buyers decide to buy, drop me a note. We'll talk about your unique situation and see if I can possibly help. All right, that is it. This was Q&A Wednesday, and I'll be back on Thursday with the Pre-Sell and Profit Show. My name is Winnie Anderson. I am a content designer and consultant. I work with service-based businesses to help them nail their message, create kind of content that attracts and helps their ideal clients decide to buy. All right, have a great rest of the day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.